Welcome to C-Suite Perspectives, a signature series by the Conference Board. I am Dr. Laura Esposito Murray, co-chair of the 2024 Distinguished Leadership Awards and former president of the Committee for Economic Development, the Public Policy Center of the Conference Board, and guest host of today's episode. In today's conversation, we will discuss leadership in challenging times, where we feature the outstanding CEOs who are recipients of the CED Distinguished Leadership Awards for corporate citizenship and business stewardship. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with our 2024 honoree, Nikesh Arora, CEO and chairman of Palo Alto Networks since 2018, a leading global cybersecurity firm whose mission is to be the cybersecurity partner of choice and workplace of choice. Palo Alto Networks is built on the core elements of sustainability, uplifting communities, inclusion and diversity, and advancing their industry, all core values that are central to CED's mission. Nikesh, welcome. We are so pleased that you are joining us today.
First of all, thank you very much, Lori, and a huge thank you to the trustees of the board for deciding to include me in this year's honorees.
Completely our privilege, and I'd like to start with leadership. Your career in the private sector has traversed significant disruption and tremendous opportunity. You've been involved with the technology sector since the early 1990s, holding leading positions at Google, SoftBank, and since 2018, CEO of Palo Alto Networks. You've been very much at the creation of this transformative wave of technology. What would you identify as the key pillars of your leadership navigating these rapidly changing times?
Well, Lori, I think I've been blessed over the last 30 years to have had my hands in various parts of the technology's life cycle. I was in early life, I was an analyst. I used to help manage money. I migrated to the telecom sector, and then I got a chance to work at Google for 10 years in the Masa. It's one of the most legendary investors of our time, and now Palo Alto. So I think not in any particular order, but curiosity ranks right up there. First is intellectual curiosity, the desire to keep learning how the world is changing, how technology is going to impact our lives, which allows you to analyze where you want to be, both individually or even as a business. I think you couple that with passion. If you don't have passion, if you're not excited about going to work every morning and making a difference, it's hard to get stuff done. I grew up in a family where my father was in the Indian Air Force, and the one value we all absorbed was always focus and do the right thing. And you don't realize how that value, when sort of seen by other people who are part of your team or are part of your larger organization, inspires them also to do the right thing. So I think a combination of some notion of curiosity / competence, some notion of passion, and a principled approach to how you lead businesses, if you couple all of that together, and I'd add a fourth, which sort of struck me most in the pandemic, was sort of empathy and being there for the people. We discovered in the pandemic that the biggest issue our employees had was they were concerned that the world has become a very uncertain place, and what's going to happen to their job, what's going to happen to their life. They have to go home. They never knew when they were going to come back. And we realized that our job at that point in time was to create certainty in their life. We had to tell them that we are there for them. And I will tell you that made the biggest difference in our evolution as a company, because we had 8,000, 10,000 people working from home who were told, come what may, we will not abandon you. We're all part of the same family, and we'll ride this thing together. So I think we add all those 3 or 4 things in some proportion, they all add up to possibly a model for leadership, which which leads you to better outcomes than not most times.
That's a really interesting formula, additive formula, and providing certainty, especially for your workforce during such uncertainty, which doesn't seem to be going away, is absolutely critical. So I'd like to turn to talking about uncertainty. Your risk assessments, what's happening with Gen AI, how are you assessing that risk and impact? I mean, are we at an inflection point in our society, our culture, our economy has been expressed that way by some? Do you see this as the most significant promise? And
I think the benefit of having a lot of experience is that you've seen a lot of cycles in your life. So I think in the late 90s, we saw the internet cycle. There was the internet hype where people thought, oh my God, this is going to be the next best thing since sliced bread. And it kind of didn't pan out then in 1999, but today, so then I say, oh my God, everything we talked about and then some has transpired in the last 25 years after 1999 when the stock market crashed because we were too excited about the internet. I think you take a look at mobility, we all said, oh my God, what's this thing, this iPhone thing that's out there? And today, it's like the whole world has been turned upside down because the iPhone has become almost ubiquitous and every one of us has some version of it. So I think AI is going to follow a similar path. I think we are in the stage where we're all excited. There's a bit of hype. There is, I'd say, overestimation of the short term, but I still feel we're underestimating the long term. So I think AI will have a profound impact in how we sort of conduct business, how we conduct our lives, just the way perhaps the iPhone has had or the internet has had. And if you think about it, the biggest underpinning of AI is the need for data. And as you can see, there's this mad flurry right now where everybody's trying to build data centers, large clusters of GPUs, and people are trying to make sure they're ready for this oncoming wave of tons and tons of data being put together in one place and being crunched to figure out what the insights are and then how that data is used to create intelligence, right? So I think we're in the very early stages of it, but you can already see some people experimenting with it. You can already see a little bit of sort of, sparks of genius or sparks of hope where people are finding interesting applications for AI. Now, today you can talk to a computer and saying, show me a picture of a blue bird flying against a black background or a white background with clouds in it. And it knows what you're talking about, can generate it for you. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. Now, if I'd said that to you 5 years ago, say, oh my God, what are you talking about? What, I just have to talk to something? This is going to build it? And that's very rudimentary. All it is doing is going through a large database of pictures, doing pattern recognition, and finding you one that describes what you asked for. So I think we're going to see tremendous amounts of evolution, and it's going to reshape how businesses run. It's going to reshape how we do things. So I think right now we're in the phase of, I'd call it intelligent automation and intelligent summarization. So if you look at the most current use cases are generative and in substance, where people can generate pictures, generate content, generate videos, generate text, write blogs for you. I think as that gets smarter and smarter, we start doing inferencing, i.e., starting to understand what did I learn from everything I learned and how would I do it if I found a different situation. The moment we hit that inflection point of inference where the computer or the device or AI can actually infer beyond summarizing what you're doing and having seen it before, I think we'll see the next big sort of step function change in how things get done differently. So I think it's exciting times. We're back to more uncertainty, like you said.
Well, it's interesting also to watch, you go back a year and a half, 2 years ago, how surprised and stunned and excited we were and how adaptable we are, how much we take that all for granted now. And it's all been incorporated into, with Gen AI, into our, we're no longer surprised. It's been incorporated into our lifestyle and is beginning to be incorporated into.
Yeah, but Lori, if you look at what we all went through collectively in the pandemic, that just showed you that our confidence in the adaptability of society is not unfounded. Come on, all of us learned how to work from home. All of us, the world went upside down within 2 weeks, and we all figured out how to adapt to it. I mean, come on, we were wearing masks, we're not talking to people, we're not going to restaurants, but everything seemed to survive. So I think the adaptability we have as a society is amazing, and I think all these concerns are, I think, misplaced. I think as we start seeing interesting applications, interesting ways of using AI, I think people are going to grab that with both hands and try and embrace that opportunity. And you're already seeing that. We live in Silicon Valley. We see that in spades. There is so much enthusiasm, so much inspiration, so many young kids who want to start AI businesses, so many young kids who are rethinking, everything. I met this 21-year-old the other day, and he went to a local high school, and he and two of his friends, unsurprisingly, quit their college careers or college education at Stanford and Yale, and they're building an AI interview machine. Like it's going to do interviews for you to get to know people better, so you don't have to have human recruiters do it. So it's almost like everywhere you turn around and look, there are people who are already trying to find applications from what AI can do today. And imagine as AI evolves, how much more powerful all of those things are going to become.
But looking at the concern side as this is unfolding and it's all new and just unfolding before us, where do you think we should be focusing in terms of preparing for the rollout of progressively improving AI in terms of capacity? There have been concerns about, and I'm talking generally, climate, the impact on energy, and how much you were mentioning data centers, how much energy is needed for the data centers. What's the list of cautionary areas that you would say, okay, this is transformative technology, but what we know now, and we're going to learn a whole lot more in the future, ABC, we should be preparing for or responding to?
Well, look, I think as you've articulated, there's a lot of people who have the scenarios which are the bad side scenarios of technology. And as you know, every technology has a good side and potential for misuse or abuse if it's not implemented right. And they're always, and every time you go through a technology transformation, the more digitized you get, the more organized you get, the more opportunity there is for bad things to happen. So I think, yes, there are some concerns associated. Look, we've got concerns around deep fakes and generating content which is not real people. How do we contend with that? And we've already seen examples, because we're in the security business. We see examples of people misusing that and going after honest, unsuspecting people and citizens, trying to extract money out of them. So we've already seen people get ahead of that curve and trying to use AI in the wrong, or generative AI in the wrong way. We've heard concerns of the dark concerns of, if AI becomes so smart, it becomes AGI, basically it's smarter than human beings. What if it takes control? So, oh my God, that's even more scary than the climate issue. Climate issues were still in control. In that notion, we're not in control. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty, like you said, a lot of unknowns associated with it. I think it's important to ensure that as this evolution happens, we build guardrails we build systems in, like, one of the systems I heard was something like, anytime AI is asked to generate content, everybody with that capability should be required to say this content was generated by AI, right? So then the notion of deep fakes becomes, harder for people to abuse it, because any tool that can be used to generate content should actually articulate that this was generated by AI, not by a human being. So you get a phone call, says this was generated by AI. You see a video generated by AI. So there are guardrails that need to be built in. There is compliance mechanisms that need to be set up in place. So I think we're going to have a fun time trying to build a whole sort of management and governance infrastructure around this stuff.
It's interesting. I was listening to one of the members of the Senate very much involved in AI and how to regulate AI, and this challenge of regulation and not crimping innovation. And the way he entered the conversation was by saying the tech community during the birth and explosion of the internet don't put a clamp on innovation. And he said we listen to that too much, and we have to find a balance. Where do you think that balance lies? And I know you've been working as a trustee, helping us understand those issues. And just share with us, how do you see that balance between making sure we're leaders in innovation, continue to be leaders in innovation, and where you regulate?
I think, Laurie, this is an interesting dilemma, as you can imagine, that we live in a more and more connected world, right? So today there is no issue that you can get information to traverse continents in sub-seconds. You can have applications live in a different part of the world and show up somewhere else. So I think the number one rule is consistency, because otherwise, like water, AI will find the path of least resistance. You will find easier jurisdictions where people will have more innovation, and you'll find harder jurisdictions where people will not innovate as fast because they have to comply to a lot of regulation, which creates an effectively uneven playing field, right? Because now you're saying, wait, I'm going to put guardrails and I'm going to crimp innovation because I want you to follow the rules. But there'll be other parts of the world that will say, go full steam ahead and build all the capabilities. So we've got to balance both that race for innovation as well as the need for responsible AI. I think it's a tough tightrope to sort of walk. I think it was a good articulation you said, the hearing you were listening to. That is a real challenge. I think there needs to be both, I'd call it self-forming entities with the tech community, within the tech community and the innovators, because it's very hard for people who don't live this on a daily basis to be able to understand what the guardrails need to be. So I think you will see more and more groups of, I'll call them sort of AI companies or people who have AI models will have to start putting up some notions of self-regulation and self-guardrails to start the ball rolling. And I think some degree of regulation is going to arrive where people will have to make sure there's ample transparency, there's ample traceability, there's ample protection against abuse before people deploy these at large scale where they start getting used inappropriately. Because I think to your point, implicitly in what you said, it's kind of like if you go run, lose, and fast, you can't put it back. You can't peel it back, as we discovered in many of the technological evolutions we've had. So I think it's fair that we need to walk through this in a measured fashion and sort of, we call it secured by design as opposed to post fact. And we have to do that. We have to secure ourselves by design and not wait for bad things to happen.
We're going to take a short break and be right back with more of my conversation with Nikesh Arora.
What does the future of work mean for your employees? How will your company navigate ESG? Will there be a global recession? At the Conference Board, our experts translate the latest research and economic analysis into insights and real-time problem solving for your organization. Membership at the Conference Board provides your team with an assortment of knowledge, from economics, marketing and communications, ESG, public policy, and human capital. As a member, you'll have access to our center experts, member-exclusive events, data and benchmarking tools, and peer sharing that will help you understand the present and shape the future. Consider becoming a Conference Board member today by visiting www.conference-board.org.
Welcome back to C-Suite Perspectives. I'm your host, Lori Esposito Murray, co-chair of the 2024 Distinguished Leadership Awards of the Committee for Economic Development, the Public Policy Center of the Conference Board. I'm joined by Nikesh Arora, CEO and chairman of Palo Alto Networks. So, continuing the discussion on innovation, looking at Palo Alto Networks, you have an innovative culture. You highly value inclusion and diversity as core values at the company. How do you share with us how you build an innovative culture within a tech sector that demands that?
Well, remember, I always joke that we do live in the most innovative part of the tech subsector because the bad actors are always looking for new ways to attack us, because the moment we plug the hole for the last thing they did, they're no longer interested in that. They're out there innovating to find a new way to get in. So we'll have to play that game at par or better with them if we want to be in the defense business, because they're in the offense business. So we have to be equally innovative, if not more, to anticipate what they're going to do. So it's like it has to be in our lifeblood. And when I came to this industry 6 years ago, I discovered, a lot of our industry has swim lanes where people stick to their swim lanes, innovate in the swim lanes, and that kind of like causes so much fragmentation. There's like 2,000 cybersecurity companies in the world. The largest company has 2.5% market share. Doesn't happen in any other industry in the world, but it happens in ours because it is so fast-paced and requires so much innovation. So, I've had the privilege of being around people like the founders of Google or Masa Son. These are highly innovative people who have tremendous amount of risk appetite. They're very focused innovators, and I learned from them. Product is number one. If you don't have great products, your customers will go somewhere else. So we focus sort of maniacally on building the best security products in our company. We focus on making sure that they're well integrated and our customers don't have to do a lot of work. And it's a cultural change we've sort of engendered in the company in the last 6 years, where we really do pride great product development, constant innovation. And we said, like, there are no sort of swim lanes. We are going to go play in whichever part of cybersecurity we want to, where we believe we have an innovative solution to make our customers more secure so they can go out and do what they need to do. Now, that did require a lot of communication, a lot of changing the culture, a lot of new people. We revamped our values 6 years ago. Well, not revamped, but basically refreshed, perhaps is a better word. And we actually force ourselves to live the values every day, because you can always make a decision in favor of expedience by saying, well, if I just did this differently, I can get there faster. So no, you can't do it faster if you're not living up to the values. So like, for example, you mentioned diversity of thought, diversity of gender, diversity in every shape or form that it comes. That allows us to build more robust products, right? It allows us to have different viewpoints represented around the table when we're doing product development, when we're dealing with customers, because our customers are a reflection of that diversity out there. So we can't be myopic and say, this is the lane I'm going to play in because it's all I can find. So I think it's been a lot of hard work, but a lot of, I'd say, rewarding work, because I'm blessed. We have 15,000 great people who work here. They are bound together by the values of the company. They're bound together with the common purpose. We're a mission-driven business. We want to make our customers be more secure because we think bad things can happen. So those are some quick highlights.
So in terms of your customers and bad things that can happen, how do you see the cybersecurity landscape evolving? And what should business leaders be focusing on now in terms of dealing with these rapidly increasing and amplifying threats?
Yeah, I think in the last 6 years, even I've noticed that we sort of quip here that, cybersecurity has gone from or cyber attacks have gone from a hobby to a profession because there's real money involved now. Like you can see the number, like ransomware is now is not a concept 6 years ago. Today, billions of dollars are extorted by bad actors from companies which are trying to do the right thing as ransomware. And because they go find, infrastructure that is not fully protected, they find sort of slightly old legacy infrastructure, they go park themselves in there and they use that as a mechanism to extort money from large companies. So I think it's become more and more important for most businesses out there to stay secure. Uh, and I think cybersecurity, the industry has also evolved more and more towards trying to make their customers more secure. But we have technology debt to pay as a world because a lot of companies were not designed to be constantly connected to their customers on all the time. So, and you can't just go wave the magic wand and say all the infrastructure is now upgraded, everybody's great, we're all safe. So we literally have to look at techniques that allow us to even protect whatever infrastructure state you have. So the only advice I give to my friends who are running companies is listen, at the end of the day, focus on the outcome. The outcome is, God forbid, you have a cyber incident. Can you recover from that quickly? Do you have enough safeguards in place that allow you to watch and protect yourself and remediate quickly? So our mantra is find out what your mean time to detect a bad thing is and find out what your mean time to remediate it is. And don't worry about all the other hygiene stuff we do in security. So we've actually pivoted our strategy towards focusing on our customers' ability to detect bad things quickly and fix them quickly. Because we think the world in such a place is going to happen, right? It's like there's people out there with lots of resources. Nation states will come after you, and then you don't have enough resources to protect yourself. The question is, if bad things happen, can you find it quickly? Can you fix it quickly? Because that gives you a fighting chance to make sure that they don't get into your infrastructure and possibly extort you in the future or bring your business down. So I think it's working. We are working with a lot of customers with that philosophy in mind, and slowly, one customer at a time, trying to evolve them to this better state.
And that's going to be even more important, Nikesh, as you know, and as our trustees know, with the timeline regulations that have been put in place. So,
yeah, look, the timeline regulations are there for people who are not paying attention. But I think it's fair to say, at least the CEO community we all interact in, you and I, the CEO community I get to interact in, they're all well aware of the risk. They're all aware this is important. They all are aware that, a bad situation with cyber could be crippling to their businesses. So I don't think there's a lack of awareness in the community, but look, every bit of reinforcement helps. But I think it's just that it takes time.
So as a final question, with your crystal ball, asking you, looking over the horizon, what are you seeing or anticipating in terms of advances in technology, and that you're excited about or worried about?
I'm an optimist, Lori. I like to see the glass half full because I think technology has had a amazing impact in my life for the last 30 years. Definitely paid a lot of bills as well. So from that perspective, I think all these advances in technology are going to be amazing. It increases our sort of curiosity. It increases the way. Actually, I think technology allows us to do more fun things with our life because it takes away a lot of the repetitive tasks. It takes away a lot of things that we don't want to do. So I think from that perspective, we'll see a lot of positive sort of movement. I think, honestly, I want to find the next thing after AI, but I think we're so early in AI that for the next 5 years or 10 years, we're going to be blinded by the amazing things AI can do. I mean, just think about it. You think about any area, whether it's drug discovery, it compresses time on drug discovery, whether it's understanding diseases, whether it's, automating things, making them happen, whether it's like, creating consistency in different parts of our life. There are so many different ways it can be used productively in a positive way to our lives, whether it increases convenience, it increases, obviously makes us healthier, makes us better people. So I think there's so many positive impacts as long as AI gets directed, like you said, where we started, in the right way, in the right direction. I just think the potential and opportunity is amazing in front of us. I think it's hard to see past that.
Thank you, Nikesh, for this excellent conversation. Thank you for your leadership. And it truly is our privilege to be honoring you this year as a 2024 Distinguished Leadership Award winner.
Thank you very much again. Thank you, Lori, for your support and the confidence of the board.
And thanks to all of you for listening to C-Suite Perspectives. I'm Lori Esposito Murray, and this series has been brought to you by the Conference Board.
You have been listening to C-Suite Perspectives, a podcast by the Conference Board.